Hello, my name is Racquel de Loyola from Philippines, and the title of my work is Glitched. Um, we are at war, fighting for life, sustenance, and survival. Um, it's it's a mixed emotions of fear, anxiety, worrisome, and in this phase of uncertainty. We do not live in a vacuum alone, and most people are naturally social animals, especially like us in the art field. Um, we used we're very much used to social engagement and interactions. Um, there was some point in time during the lockdown which I personally have had experienced some distress, depression, and anxiety in this very crucial time of uncertainty. In this new social distancing, people tend to rely on this virtual reality as a new norm of platform, although this had been widely used ever since um, before the lockdown or this pandemic happened. This resulted in creating an intensified necessity for interaction, connectivity, and convergence through the means of online communication platforms and social media as a tool. Although one must also be cautious about the spreading of fake news and false information, which are very much prevalent at this point. And the danger is that some power structures took taking advantage of abuse of power, and people were restrained from mass gatherings and protest actions to confront the authorities from wrongdoings, in response to taking action for the crisis we are now facing. At some level, this pandemic gives people a space to realize and value time, and also the importance of life and survival. We are now going back to basics. This unseen virus doesn't exempt any social stature, age, or color, even gender or race. Well, priority is always for safety, security, and protection. Staying away from the virus, getting rid of, infected and transmitting this virus is very much important. Spending and value time with family and loved ones, especially. Space and time is very crucial. With this unexpected turn of situation, left us out into a state of uncertainty, and this pushes me to produce and utilize time in my production making, stimulating creative juices and motivate me moving forward in creating more my artistic means of expression. I have choose a mall area, which is the escalator, as well as the highway location. It's along the highway. It is called the Philippine Highway. No? The Pan Philippine Highway is 3,517 kilometer network of roads, bridges, and ferry services that connects the islands of Luzon, Samar, Leyte, Mindanao, which serves as the country's backbone. The highway was proposed in 1965 and built under the administration of former dictator Ferdinand Marcos. Government planners have believed that the motorway and other connected roads would stimulate agricultural production, which Nueva Ecija province was mainly the rice capital of Philippines. As rice producer in the country, by reducing transport costs, encouraged social and economic development outside of existing major urban dense centers such as Manila, expanding industrial production for domestic and overseas markets, living off grid in the area where me and my family resides. Due to this pandemic, the Pan-Philippine Highway, or also known as Maharlika Highway, turned out empty due to the restricted travel bans, which have resulted to scarcity and lack of food supplies and other medical PPEs and equipments in many areas caused by this crisis. I utilized escalator in a mall in the city where I live during this new normal, which turned out to be almost empty. Even shut down all establishments during the general community quarantine, which had been implemented last March 2020, then later lifted to modified enhanced community quarantine. This lockdown led to economic downfall, affecting many businesses which had actually resulted to displacement of many workers locally as well as overseas. Quarantine as compared to old ways and measures, like where mall culture is highly much obsessed with typical Filipino family. Many people used to visit malls to keep them cool inside an air-conditioned room, an air-conditioned building. Spending time window shopping, catching up desires and cravings, even scarcity from spending cash on a highly consumerist capitalist society. Malls during the old normal was never been empty, but during this pandemic, the crowded space turned out unoccupied. I used bottle spray, fluid, liquid, uh, fake blood, and a mirror. Blood, which represents life and sustenance, as well as survival. Blood associated with fire, danger, anger, rage, vibrance, radiance, determination, action, strength, and power. Mirror as the epitome of our present state of affairs, reflecting the leadership response to this pandemic crisis that we are currently facing. Taking advantage of the situation, as concrete example, to name few, on social distancing protocols, restriction on social physical gatherings and mass protest actions. These have actually transpired to abuse of power. One example, some examples were the shutting down of the biggest media network, which resulted to 11,000 workers unemployment. And then there's House Bill approval on anti-terror, the eradication of jeepney units as means of, for public transportation, and which became favorable to modernization program, resulted to job loss of major transport workers as well as the operators. Philippine foreign debt nears 9 trillion surged in loans for pandemic response. Displacement of labor force and unemployment locally as well as overseas. The attack on press freedom is also evident. The social unrest and political turmoil, starvation, and impunity in this age of pandemic. One realization: you must keep yourself healthy and well nourished during this pandemic. You have to nurture yourself, build positive social relationships, as well as embrace change and acceptance to new normal, that kind of flexibility. And of course, I think the most important key for surviving this crisis is resiliency. The greatest lesson is learn from the past and live life to present, which is the now. Under this new normal, people tend to become more vigilant and cautious about their safety, and people are getting used to this social physical distancing protocols as well as sanitation, wearing masks and face shields during exposure to public spaces. uh, we used to respond to a person automatically through handshakes, embracing, or kissing on cheeks as a big welcome, or recognize someone close, or even an acquaintance as paying respect and politeness towards individual. But this pandemic restrained us from doing this practice. A great threat we are caught up from the unseen virus COVID-19 pandemic around the globe, spreading rapidly alongside with much more evident result of terror, fascism, police brutality, as what we may call state terrorism, as the unbundling policy makings that constitute to abuse of power, human rights violation, as well as socio-economic downfall in the face of uncertainty. Anticipated event is turning our space into somehow alienating place for each human individual. From what we have appeared to be normal suddenly turned out to be a new dimension for experimentation, exploration, and exposition for another ways and means for survival.